Hello there, welcome to Nacho Television from Ankara in Turkey. My name is Sauda Muganga. I'll bring to you our news headlines. Turkey kicks off the largest Navy drill in its history, holding the largest Navy drill in its history with over 100 vessels on the 3 seas surrounding the country. The 4-day drill, dubbed Blue Homeland 2019, began Wednesday with the participation of 103 Navy ships in the Black Sea, the Aegean Sea, and the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. The flotilla included 13 frigates, 6 corvettes, 16 assault boats, and 7 submarines, also carrying 7 minor hunting vessels, 14 patrol boats, as well as other Navy vessels. The drill was planned 6 months in advance in line with NATO rules and regulations. The drill is coordinated by the Navy War Center Command and will last through March 2nd. 39 irregular migrants held in Western Turkey. A total of 39 irregular migrants were held while attempting to illegally cross into Europe in Turkey's Western Çanakkale province on Wednesday. The Ethiopia's MP Abiy Ahmed to host a fundraising dinner. The Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed will be hosting a fundraising dinner to help secure $1 billion for infrastructure projects in the capital of Addis Ababa. Officials say tickets will be charged at more than $175,000 per person, but further details are unclear. The dinner hopes to boost foreign investments into one of Africa's fastest growing economies. Since coming to power last year, Mr. Ahmed has pushed for wide-scale economic reform in Ethiopia. A video released by the Prime Minister has set out plans for the redevelopment of Addis Ababa, including expansion of green spaces and retail areas. A report from England says 27,000 children are reported to be members of the gang. There are 27,000 children aged between 10 and 17 in England who identified as being part of a gang. According to a report by Children's Commissioner, it adds that 320,000 children know a gang member, and of those, 34,000 have experienced crimes of violence. Commissioner Enna Longfield said gangs were using sophisticated techniques to groom children and chilling levels of violence to keep them compliant. The Home Office said it was committed to protecting vulnerable children. According to the report, gangs set out to prey on vulnerable children, and those gangs set out to prey on those who are suffering from mental health issues and abuse and neglect in their family's life as particularly susceptible. 2019 Islamic Book Fair in Jakarta. The 18th Islamic Book Fair kicks off in Jakarta, Indonesia yesterday. Interviews took place with the visitors Afifa Zekier, 15, and chairman of Islamic Book Fair, Anis Baswedan, on Wednesday. Tour Mendil embraces its history. The Tour Mendil embraces its history was a visit to the main points that marked the history of the city during the war against drug trafficking in the 80s and 90s in Medellin, Colombia on Tuesday last week. The Chadian President Idriss Deby visits Ankara. Chadian President Idriss Deby meets with Turkish Parliament Speaker Mustafa Şentop in Ankara, Turkey, yesterday. More immigrants were held trying to enter in Turkey. A total of 11 irregular migrants were held while attempting to illegally cross into Europe in Turkey's northwestern Tekirdağ province yesterday. Following the news from Antarctica, a record holder dives for a Turkish polar base. An internationally renowned Turkish diver dove into the Southern Ocean surrounding Antarctica to celebrate the opening of a temporary Turkish research base on a horse show island. Sahika Egemen is part of Turkey's third national Atlantic scientist expedition to set up such bases on the frozen continent. after becoming the first Turkish woman to dive into the icy waters without an oxygen tank early in February. She submerged again amid opening celebrations for the landmark 3-year base where scientists began operating on Monday. The 9-time record holder remained under the 0 degrees waters for 1 hour without a specialized protection wetsuit. Her journey is being filmed for a documentary. TikTok has been fined for video sharing app over children's data. Short-form video sharing app TikTok has been handed the largest ever fine for a US case involving children's data privacy. The company has agreed to pay $5.7 million and implement new measures to handle users who say they are under 13. The Federal Trade Commissioner said the musical Reel app, which was later acquired and incorporated into TikTok, knowingly hosted content published by underage users, which has ordered TikTok to delete the data. The phone maker is bringing buttons back. An Android phone that slides open to reveal a physical QWERTY keyboard inside has launched at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. The Fixtech Pro 1 phone has also a bespoke shutter button on the side to click when taking photos. The London startup behind said it wanted to return the keyboard to consumers. Other handsets with keyboards button built in from brands such as BlackBerry, Mobile and Swiss Punky were also on the show. A lot of consumer tech still has buttons, even though the tech is there to get rid of them, said Adrian Lee Mouching, founder of Fixtech, adding that haptic feedback never gives the same satisfaction as pressing a physical button. Cardinal George Pell at court for sentencing on child abuse charges. George Pell arrives at Melbourne Country Court yesterday in Australia. Pell, once the third most powerful man in the Vatican and Australia's most senior Catholic, was found guilty on 11th December in Melbourne's Country Court. But the result was subject to a suppression order was only able to be reported from Tuesday. Abuse victims Brian Cherry and John Lawrence speak to the press in front of the court building. Turkey helps Turkey render herders in Mongolia. The Turkish Operation and Coordination Agency TIKA distributes aid among hundreds of donkey Turks in northern Mongolia on Wednesday. TIKA Chief Advisor Kamil Korabas speaks to the media on Tuesday in Saganor. The Indian Air Force aircraft crashes in Kashmir. Indian Army soldiers work near the wreck of an Indian aircraft after it crashed in Bugdam district of Kashmir yesterday. Pakistan Army on Wednesday claimed that the country's air force has shot down into Indian fighter jet that's crossed into Pakistani territory. The US President's senior advisor, Jared Kushner, visits Ankara. US President Donald Trump's senior advisor, Jared Kushner, arrives at Esenboğa Airport on Wednesday to meet with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara, Turkey. Israeli troops raid Ramah. Israeli troops raid several districts of central Ramah, West Bank yesterday. The Israeli army on Wednesday arrested Zakaria Zubeidi, a member of the Fatah Movement's Revolution Council, and Tariq Bagot, a lawyer for the PLO-run Commissioner for Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs. UK Antarctic meteorite Hartberg's large hole, the first British-led expedition to gather meteorites in the Atlantic has returned with a haul of 36 space rocks. Manchester University's Dr. Catherine Joe was dropped into the deep field with British Antarctic Survey guide Judy Baum for 4 weeks. The pair spent their days near the Stockholm Mountains, running across the icy sheet in skidos looking for out-of-place objects. Meteorites range from teeny flakes to some that were a bit a melon. Some 2/3 of the meteoroids in the world's collections have been picked up in the Atlantic. It's the contrast of black and white that makes a continent such as productive hunting ground. Michael Cohen, ex-lawyer, tells Congress Trump directed lies. Donald Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen has claimed Mr. Trump wanted him to lie about a property deal in Moscow during a 2016 presidential campaign. In congressional testimony, Cohen said the US president directed covert plans for a Trump hotel even while he denied having any business in Russia. He also said Mr. Trump knew about a leak of hacked Democratic emails and called him a racist, no man, and a cheat. Mr. Trump accused Cohen of lying in order to reduce his prison time. House passes bill expanding background checks the U.S. gun law. The U.S. House of Representatives have approved a bill expanding background checks for all gun sales, including those at gun shows and on the internet. The legislation is the most significant gun control measure to make progress in Congress in more than 2 decades. The Democratic-controlled House passed it by 240 votes to 190. The bill is likely to be approved in the Senate, where Republicans have a majority. President Donald Trump would also need to sign it for it to become a law. The White House said on Tuesday Mr. Trump's advisors would recommend that he veto the bill as it would apply burdensome requirements that were incompatible with the Second Amendment's guarantee of an individual right to keep arms. Thank you so much for watching our news program. You can send us messages on WhatsApp number written on your screen, or check or subscribe our YouTube channels. It's me, Sauda Muganga, Natural Television in Ankara, Turkey. See you soon.